new portal where you'll begin. Click around or dive right in. What's the first thing that you do? We're learning from the pros, sharing it with you. Set up secrets, come and see. What's the trick to HubSpot harmony? Tune in now, don't miss your cue. We're going live and saving spots for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to HubSpot Set Up Secrets, What Pros Do First. I'm Casey, and this series is all about answering one deceptively tricky question. What do you actually do first when you get into a new HubSpot portal? No two admins, ops pros, or HubSpot experts tackle it the same way, and that's exactly why I started this series. I've been inviting smart folks from across the ecosystem to share what they look at first, what they skip, and what they've learned along the way. Today's guest is Ian Shields, and I cannot wait to hear his take. Whether you're brand new to HubSpot or knee deep in portal cleanup, I hope this conversation gives you some fresh ideas and maybe even makes you feel a little less alone in the mess. Let's dive in. Hey, Ian, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Excited to be here. This is really cool.
I am excited to have you. If you've been following along with the series, you may know that my friend Danielle mentioned Ian and his audit checklist when she was on the show a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago at this point. Time flies. Um, and once she mentioned that, I DM'd Ian probably the same day and said, "Hello, would you like to be on the show?" And here he is.
Yeah,
um,
appreciate the shout out from Danielle. And 'cause I'm really humbled that I'm here because you've had some fantastic people in this series. You had Sarah Lane, you had Danielle, Kyle Jepson, um, Deanna.
I know.
It's been wonderful.
I I too am surprised who is willing to come on LinkedIn Live and talk to me for 30 minutes. Before we jump in, Ian, do you want to give a little background who you are, what you do?
Sure. Full name is Ian Shields. Uh, I'm originally from Canada, so happy Canada Day to everyone out there.
I
And
personally knew that.
uh, that's interesting. So I've been doing marketing, demand generation, marketing operations, go to market ops for about 14 years in B2B SaaS space with companies that have used a lot of different platforms, Eloqua, Marketo, HubSpot, Salesforce,
Mhm.
and all the other thousands of other tools that are in that space. It's been a really fun career. I've enjoyed it, and my spirit animal is a polar bear.
Ah, good to know. Good to know. I would probably say a greyhound or a corgi, myself.
Ooh, Greyhound or Corgi is very different dogs, but both of
Well,
those are
I
so fun.
corgi is probably more accurate. I grew up with corgis, but, I now have 2 greyhounds, so, if you work with me, you almost certainly know about the greyhounds because, they often need things when I'm on calls, like blankets to be covered and things.
That's cute. Maybe we'll be on the call today.
Yeah, they might. So Ian, I usually like to start by asking people, why is the question, what do you do first in a new HubSpot portal so hard to answer? Why do people have different answers?
Ooh. Um, I think the challenge comes from just different points of view and experiences with the platform. Uh, that's why just answers vary. I listened to Kyle's answer to that, and also Chris. They gave fantastic points of view that just points to our experiences are different.
Mhm.
What we think is our end goal, what we're trying to get to, varies. So when we get into the portal for the first time with such a powerful and complex tool, people take their first foundation where they feel comfortable and then begin to explore.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes I say, like, everyone has a different trauma, and so people are basing that on their trauma. So usually what I ask next is what's the very first thing you do when you get into a portal, but and you have about 90 things that you do, I think. So do you wanna go ahead and, walk us through what your thought process is going into a new portal?
Yeah, happy to do so. So I have a sample audit that I do, like the
Mhm,
output from my process. Where I genuinely like to start is just with the people.
mhm,
So business leaders, stakeholders, and users uh, who rely on HubSpot, right?
mhm,
For the executive leadership team, maybe they're logging in, maybe they're not, but their point of view of what they're focusing on within this year and their goals and how their business operates is interesting to know
mhm,
and to also understand.
mhm.
And then also how their vision, mission, and goals translates to the users who are in the tool day in and day out.
Yeah.
I I always find it really interesting because usually consultants are 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 brought in by leadership team, but we're brought in to work with the people, the boots on the ground people, and sometimes there can be such a disconnect there. So I agree. I think it's so important, like, to start understanding those differences, what everyone's goals are there, just as early and really as early and as often as you can.
Yeah, get in early and often. Um, I think it also goes into building trust with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Having been worked in house and setting up these portals, and then you move on to the next job or the next opportunity. I'm always hesitant to be like, oh man, oh, someone else is going to come see this and like see the mess that I left or the things that were
Mm-hmm.
undone or the workarounds that I had to put in place that
Mm-hmm.
now with the next HubSpot update, it's no longer necessary. I'm just like, so coming in, I come from an approach of like, I'm trying to build trust that I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to say like, this is bad or this is wrong or
Mm-hmm.
wrong or just messed up, but that, hey, this is great. This works in
Mm-hmm.
certain ways. These are pros. These are cons, and maybe there's some things that need to be mended or transformed.
Yeah, I was just talking to I was in a new portal a week or two ago, and I was talking to the team about it, and I kept saying that basically. I kept saying, like, well, this is built, but was it's not necessary anymore, but it was at the time. It probably was at the time. And there's like so there's so much of that that can go into that early process. So I agree.
Yeah. So let me. Yeah, a lot that goes into it because the people matter most, and then we get into the system, the configuration more. Let's show a sample of
Yeah.
this efficiency report, and we'll look at some highlights. So this is a sample. It's reflective of typically what I see when I go through an audit. This
Mm-hmm.
one is obviously for Acme Co. and
Mm-hmm.
primary contact is Bugs Bunny. Uh, and going through this, I give people an overall score. It's 88 points. And as HubSpot does updates or things change, I always take that into account and I'll show you that and then letting them know what looks like it's urgent, aligned
Mm-hmm.
to their business priorities and goals, what could be not urgent, and then what passes. And first and foremost, that they're getting out of this is a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you just really want to know like what's next, what's the priority that we want to be working on. Okay. Um, I found this useful so people can understand, okay, we've come and completed so many really amazing, interesting projects for our go-to-market strategy. What's next? Like, does this align to our business goals? How does this impact the business? Where can people contribute? This is helpful for that. Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's going to get, well, I'm not going to cover all the points, but like these are all the sections that I go through. So where do I start is with the account and setup.
And starting
Okay.
to get an idea for what is set up in the settings.
Yeah. So we'll go down to here, like marketing contacts. With marketing contacts, knowing like their subscription, with many portals that I go into, marketing contacts is tied to their usage limit. And many people have experienced where you go over your marketing contact limit, and that's when HubSpot bumps you up for the cost of your platform. And sometimes it just comes down to that is something you want to be aware of. So for example, I have one client that was expanding their content distribution, their reach. And so they were adding contacts from a lot of different platforms, a lot of different channels, and it skyrocketed the number of marketing contacts, increasing their spend. When I looked at it, I was just wanted to be open and transparent. And they said, okay, yeah, we want to just be better owners and intentional with who is a marketing contact and not a marketing contact. And it's also just transparency, knowing like, oh, we're going to go over our limit. We're doing great with events. We expect a lot to come in the fall. Great. We're going to go up and spend. Let finance know. So it's not an unexpected change.
And sometimes you do need to increase your marketing contacts. Like that is fine, and that happens. But I agree, just having, so it's not a surprise to you, to anyone, is really important. And I've seen the opposite happen as well when I'm in a new portal where they have 300,000 marketing contacts and they're using 30,000. And I'm like, hey, I think we might have overstretched here. So that's also something to flag. You can't always fix that immediately, but when that next renewal comes up, flagging that and having that conversation with them as well.
Yeah, it gets you connected with your finance team, with your HubSpot, CSM, and those conversations are helpful, and no one's caught off guard, and you are more of a team player. So it's one definitely take a look at. Another one I also look at is access management. Essentially, because I start the conversation with like understanding users and roles, I just want to look at who's coming into the portal, when was their last login, and also what are their roles and permissions, and do I understand the jobs that they need to get done. I worked with one client where it was just easier for them to say, okay, everyone's a super admin.
Yeah.
They're all super admins. And I'm like, because it's such business critical information, let's just be really intentional. If they all want to be super admins, okay, let's just make sure like they have the knowledge, the training, support for those responsibilities. And some people are like, no. I just want to make sure like I do my role and I do it really well. I don't need to be a super admin. Okay, that's fine. So being very intentional with roles and permissions.
Yeah. I was just on a call with a client, and I mentioned we were talking about like how to track commissions in HubSpot, but the immediate problem with that was everybody is a super admin. And one of the things they were flagging where, they wanted to track commissions, but they didn't want to have visibility to everyone. And I said, okay, well, step one of that is we're going to have to rein back our super admins, which they were very open to. It's a startup. That happens all the time at startups. Everybody becomes a super admin because it's easier. But you do at some point need to say, okay, now maybe we're at a point, we're bringing in HubSpot specialists. Maybe now this is the time where not everyone needs to be super admin.
Absolutely. And this just shows like all the different points that I go through for this. I'm just going to go all the way down to life cycle stages.
Yes.
Let's see. I think Madeline Donovan talked about this, and Chris Corlane even talked about life cycle stages. This just helps to identify where you do have revenue leaks at a high level in your organization. So for example, I have a friend who built a brand new house, been living in the house for a year, and then noticed a pool of water in the basement, pretty significant. And he was concerned, like, where'd this pool of water come from? Like, this is a brand new house. I shouldn't have water. Looking around, talk to the builder, and the builder's like, oh, it probably came from outside. Didn't make sense for it to be coming from outside. The builder made some changes to the outside, like putting down some caulk around the front door and windows, and talking to my friend, I was like, I don't think that's it. I was like, so we went one story up from the basement and was like, let's pull the carpet back. Saw water on the subfloor. The baseboards showed water damage. I was like, this is not good. I'm going to open up your wall. And he's like, no, this is a brand new house. Don't put a hole in the wall. I was like, we got to see where the leaks come from, because it's obviously here. I don't think it's outside. Cut open the wall, found a sewage pipe, so the white pipe, and I was like, we can see the damage. I went all the way back to a Y joint. One of the laborers had put a screw from the outside of the house into right in the middle of the Y joint. Y joint went to a toilet upstairs, to a bathtub, and it had been leaking for a year.
Oh my God.
A year. Right? The builder's like, there's nothing wrong. Like, yeah, there's a pool of water, and we just caulked the outside of the house around window where we think it's like, they got it fixed, thank goodness. But it takes some investigation to see there's a cause for this. Even if it's a brand new house, just like it's a brand new HubSpot portal, a brand new HubSpot account, where your revenue leaks, and this is what's going to help you find those.
Yeah, I think I would always say too, it's very easy to see how sophisticated the setup is by looking at the contact lifecycle stages too. You can see if they're customized or not. I don't love to customize lifecycle stages. Some people do. I don't really like to. But you can also tell from like how evenly split they are, or sensibly split is maybe a better phrasing. If you have way more MQLs than you have leads, then that's a bit of a flag for me that, like, are we just setting everyone as MQL? What's happening there, and things like that.
Yeah, I do customize lifecycle stages to fit the nomenclature of the business and to provide clarity. So there are stages that some I rename, some I add, some I remove, but that is, I do document it, put in the visual flows, and show entry and exit criteria, and also error handling. So if something is out of whack, you get notified, and it's easy to fix even after I'm gone.
Yeah. And I will say, it's custom lifecycle stages are like better and easier to manage now. I think part of why I don't like customizing them is historically only the default lifecycle stages had certain options, including the syncing of lifecycle stages to ad platforms. You can now sync custom lifecycle stages. So all of that to say, it's not. I should get over myself.
Platform changes, right? You just have to
Yeah.
be right. The way we did things previously isn't always how it works today. We keep
Yeah.
up with the updates, and we're there to help and guide people make good decisions
Mm-hmm.
and just know about the pros and cons.
Now I know, Ian, you have all these marked by priority level. The priority level, is that a combination of what you're seeing when you pop in and seeing if life cycle, like, is everyone a lead, in which case life cycle stages are going to be a higher priority, or is it more the conversations you're having, a combination of both?
It's a combination of both, right? Are they using life cycle stages? Does it seem unbalanced?
Mm-hmm.
Do some seem unused?
Mm-hmm.
Or another common problem that I see going into some of these larger HubSpot accounts is that they're setting lifecycle stage in all these different workflows and all these different scenarios in different places. I'm like, whoa, if we can centralize this
Mm-hmm.
and have a just specific callable process for each stage, this will be easier to maintain and scale.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there ends up needing to be some sort of balance on what they think the priorities are when you're first walking in, and then what you're seeing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Just goes back to the business and the people, stakeholders and users.
Yeah. Are there any other specific elements of the audit you wanted to highlight, or that are kind of the key things that you're watching out for very early in the audit?
Other key things I look at, I do check integrations,
Mm-hmm.
specifically knowing what data is flowing into your system, what's flowing out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a way to talk with the finance team,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all have the apps that we wanted to try out. It's a monthly subscription, and then you might forget about that you have a Netflix subscription and Disney Plus and
Mm-hmm.
Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime, and you stop watching one of the shows, but the
Mm-hmm.
subscription keeps rolling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a place I do go check what they have for connected apps and be like, you're likely paying for this or that. Just something to check on an annual basis.
Yeah,
That's another
and
one.
as HubSpot releases more features, some of those apps become
Yeah.
potentially redundant.
They definitely do. One that I always check is contact data quality.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you identify what's important. There's so many properties that HubSpot creates and
Mm-hmm.
then people bring in and customize. I do like to have a fun moment with clients and talk about, okay, for a contact, let me know the importance of data.
Mm-hmm.
What's important, what's critical, what's required. So for example, some of the clients, especially in B2B SaaS, say, oh, I want to get the LinkedIn URL.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. And some portals, people have already added their own custom property, and then HubSpot created a default property. Now I have two properties
Yes.
on the contact, but neither one is over like 40% complete. So something to look at with customers, just there is a lot of properties, but just know what is required and critical for your business and your processes.
Yeah, and I think that exercise is interesting because if you asked me that about my own HubSpot account and my own business, I would say the HubSpot subscriptions that you have are critical. And my HubSpot account is not built out very far, but I don't have that on almost all of the content. I think I think you'd struggle to find that on any of my contacts. So how critical is it if I'm not collecting it? And if it is critical, like, okay, that's fine, but I need to be prioritizing getting that data some way, somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right, not everything is important for that data. Just narrow it down to like what's required, what's critical, what do we think is important.
Hmm.
Another fun one. So I look it through like custom objects that can be renamed, objects that maybe they're not using, right? Maybe they're not using subscriptions or goals or custom objects, and just being transparent. Hey, there's nothing there. Don't have to worry about it. The let's skip that one. Let's talk about list naming conventions. This one's always interesting, right? You talked with Kyle Jepson. He's got a great video like how do you build a list? It's just like a short little video, 2-3 minutes. It's great because it's so easy to create a list, but a lot of times it's there's just ends up being so many lists. Which one should I use?
Hmm.
And the example I give to this is, so my dad was a general contractor. And when he passed away, my family and I were going through all of his tools in his sheds to clean up and declutter. And we started finding these small 3.5-inch LED flashlights from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight's like a middle of the road, low end tool chain. And these little flashlights, he had over 20 of them. The same exact flashlight. He had over 20 of them. And having worked with him, I knew why. Because we'd be working and all of a sudden he's like, oh, I need to find the flashlight. I'm like, okay. Where's the flashlight? I don't know. Where's the flashlight? I'm like, I don't know where the flashlight is. He's like, okay, we're going to Harbor Freight. And so then we have to drive to Harbor Freight, pick up a flashlight. It's like $5 and come back. The amount of time that it takes just to go find a flashlight is like trying to find that list that someone made. It's like, I don't know what they named it. So I'm always a very strong proponent of naming conventions that are clear and succinct. So part of this, I do share my naming convention. Put in the name, some flexibility if you have a succinct description for it, and then the ID number, so that as you use it in the portal, hey, I'm trying to find that segmentation list that we have of our partners. Oh yeah, that's a list ID 752. In reports, I just look for 752. If I'm using it in API integration, I know it's going to be 752 for the ID. And it's just so much easier to use, to communicate, create, and then find again.
Yeah. Yeah. I know naming conventions, I think, are so underutilized. They're so a mystery in many ways. I think it's interesting, the new fields. So you can now do list properties, email properties, things like that. And I'm very curious how those new field options will evolve naming conventions. I don't think they've replaced the need for good naming conventions, but I do think they have the opportunity to enhance and make things even easier to use.
I agree. I think it's like Salesforce campaigns. If in Salesforce, we want a good Salesforce naming convention, you create the custom fields and then put in a flow that says, hey, if someone ever creates it, they are required to fill out these fields, and it auto-populates the name. That's where I hope it gets to.
We do have one question. Daniel said, this is awesome, super in-depth and covers all crucial areas. Curious, do you do this audit manually or use a tool?
So my workbook for this audit combines API calls, manually checking and looking at configuration, and AI to tie in all the insights with notes and recommendations across all the different points.
So a little bit of human and a little bit of machine help.
Yeah. Yep. Good question.
That's where we are. That's the world we live in 2025.
That's the world we live in.
Are there any other pieces of the audit you wanted to highlight, Ian?
Ooh, I think probably the last one.
Mhm.
When I do this, I have a very strong feeling of I want to leave things better than how I found it. So a few of these audits I've done, and then the client's like, "Okay, well, this is fantastic. We can handle it on our own from here." It's like,
Mhm.
that's fantastic. So I
Mhm.
do leave behind a dashboard, these lists that I create, records views, and properties,
Mhm.
and as a way that they can improve it on their own.
Mhm.
I think that's just the
Yeah.
last one I leave.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I totally agree with leaving better than you left it. Earlier you said something about like, thinking about like, oh, is someone going to come in behind me and look at these work arounds and things like that. I think that all the time. And sometimes I'll say to clients, I'll be like, I'm going to build you this workaround. If you hire another consultant at any point, they're going to complain about this, but just know, I know. But documentation, I think, is probably the biggest piece that a lot of people are missing. So I think that is a really big thing. As we wrap up, is there one thing you wish more people understood about early days of setting up or inheriting HubSpot portals that you think they should kind of prioritize?
Ooh, ones they should prioritize is, I think it's there's a technical aspect of like learning the tool and working through where you might see gaps or challenges in your knowledge and also your team's knowledge.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you create a list of contacts that have unsubscribed from email,
Mhm.
that field can be true, it can be false, or it could be blank.
Mhm.
Some people will just be like, "Oh yeah, unsubscribed is not true." I'm like, "Well, that could be
Mhm.
false or blank."
Mhm.
Are you like just understand how some
Some of
of
those field
the
relationships.
nuances
Yeah.
work,
Mhm.
and just be willing to be like, "Oh, I discovered this new thing. Now I'm better, and I can go make a change."
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. That's a wrap on today's HubSpot Setup Secret session. Huge thanks to Ian Shields for walking us through his audit, more than a setup flow, a full audit. If you've been watching and thinking, wait, I've been skipping that, or I've never thought to check that first, same. That's the beauty of the series. And if you've got tips of your own or want to hop on and share what you do first in a new portal, shoot me a DM. I'd love to keep the combo going. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, they are all up at caseycohub.com/setup. Setup is one word. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.
New portal, where do you begin? Click around or dive right in. What's the first thing that you do? We're learning from the pros, sharing it with you. Setup secrets, come and see. What's the trick to HubSpot harmony? Tune in now, don't miss your cue. We're